Hi, my name is Corey Doxer, and I'm here with SGA Presidential Candidate Chris Brown and SGA Vice Presidential Candidate Gabriella Nobile. Thanks so much for sitting down with us today. Could you introduce yourself?
My name is Chris Brown. I'm a second-year math and finance student, and I'm running for president of the student body.
My name is Gabby Nobile. I'm a second-year business administration and psychology combined major with a concentration in accounting. I am running for executive vice president of the student body.
What made you decide to run for president and vice president?
So right now I serve as the vice president for academic affairs, and I feel like my scope is a little bit too limited to make the change that I want to. I think by becoming president, I can really help to empower other students and make a lot of better change on campus than just academics.
For executive vice president, a big part of the role is running the Senate itself, so I think that I would be really good at that, and I've always kind of loved being in Senate and having different speakers come in and see, like, just passing legislation and talking to different people and seeing what their ideas are. So I think that putting me in charge of Senate would be a really exciting thing for us, and I think that it would be really a great way for students to be able to reach out to me, and I think I can make a lot of changes in that position.
What about your experience make you good fits for leading the SGA?
As the vice president for academic affairs, I've really worked with a lot of faculty and administration already. So I've already begun to form those relationships, and I think having those relationships will be a huge resource that I can pull from this next year.
I have not served on I haven't been a VP of any of the committees in SGA, but I have had a lot of experience outside. I'm a TA, and I've been a TA for 2 different classes, so I've definitely had a lot of experience working with students that have different needs and different problems that they need figured out, being that I've been a TA for 2 different classes, and a lot of them were kind of they were the freshman year classes. So it was a lot about teaching different resources on campus and making sure that students were able to solve the problems that they needed to in everyday life coming to college. So I think that gave me the experience in being able to figure out the problem and make sure I'm properly answering it.
By the time your term would be up, what would you most like to accomplish?
I think one of the biggest things that we want to have accomplished is really have a strong connection between all students on our campus. We really want to build a larger community of Northeastern students instead of just having these individual focused groups. So we really want people to break out of their clubs, and we want to have them all collaborate together and build that sense of community.
Yeah, kind of going off that, I want students to feel like they have somewhere to turn to when they're in need of pushing an initiative through that they feel like they can't do on their own. I want them to have a resource to be able to say, oh, this isn't working right now, but I think if I turn to SGA and ask who I can speak to, they'll be able to help me do it. I don't want to be taking over student initiatives. I just want them to be able to say, listen, we're stuck. Can you help us out with something? So I really think that would be great.
I think one of the largest goals of our platform is really having greater accessibility to our campus. When we give students more resources, great things come of it. So if we have Curry open 24/7, or if we have greater swipe access to academic buildings, it can really help students facilitate their projects, whatever they're working on in their clubs, all of the above.
Okay, now let's get into the issues. First is budgeting for clubs through the student activity fee, which was a huge issue this year as many clubs lost a significant amount of funding and were unable to host events. What are your thoughts on the changes to the SGA budget?
This year, the Finance Board did run into some trouble with the budget allocation system. It was a system in which there were annual budgets, and then once the annual budgets were done, there was all the other money. It was on a rolling monthly basis. So you submitted your budget, and then your money, we had a meeting with you, and we reviewed, and then we gave you money. As the year went on, the number of clubs increased, and it's been increasing for years, but the number of students and the amount of money in the SAF was not increasing fast enough to keep up with the demands. So when that happened, we had to make budget cuts. If not, nobody was going to get funding at the end of the year. So that was really frustrating, and it was not a great situation, and I know that a lot of clubs were very upset, and it was really hard on us trying to decide, where does this money go? And the problem was we couldn't go back in time and change the annual budgets that had already been given out. We were used to, oh, we have the money to go throughout the year. So this year, they actually created a new system. We created a new system, and we have now just an annual budget system for all clubs that have ever requested before. You go in, you say, this is what I spent last year, this is what I am requesting for this year, and that way it's a more whole comprehensive view of every budget that's going to be submitted. so that at the beginning they can take a look at everything and say, okay, as opposed to cutting some groups this much and some groups nothing at all, they'll be able to say, this is the amount of money we have, this is how we're going to allocate it. As to how the finance board plans on doing that, I'm not sure. I will have to leave the finance board because I'll be on the executive board of, I might be on the executive board of SGA, so I wouldn't be able to serve on both. But that's really kind of, allocating the funds is up to the finance board, but with the new system, it really should be much better, and all groups should have the opportunity for more equal funding.
Another issue people have spoken about is stipends for members of organizations like the SGA and RSA. These stipends have become more controversial since the budget refusals became an issue. Do you support keeping stipends for leaders of the SGA and RSA?
The SGA recently just submitted our new budget proposal. I worked with the current administration on it, and we wholly support their decision to remove SGA stipends from the SAF. We believe that this money is better spent by our student organizations, and the budget overall for SGA was decreased by almost 50%, which is incredible, I think. This is something that students have been pushing for a while. This is something that I've always held as one of my beliefs, that we exist to serve students. We don't exist to take money from students, really. So I wholeheartedly agree with the decision that has been made.
Yeah, it was absolutely the right move. After being able to see the financials from the other side of it, taking that money out of the budget and taking that away and cutting our budget, that's going to give a lot of money to different clubs that can really use it in better ways. I can even think in my head of all the different groups that would be able to use that better than we would.
It was recommended to us that we continue stipends in some form. It will not be taken from other student organizations, however.
If we do it, we'll be doing it completely on our own.
Housing is another issue students are passionate about. Many students, especially rising sophomores required to live on campus, had to resort to pause placement after all housing was taken. How will SGA help improve the housing situation?
I think that a lot of housing's issues come from kind of a software perspective. Last year we saw that their portals were not fit for the amount of traffic that they received, which caused it to crash. So we would like to continue working with Housing, Res Life, RSA, and ITS to make sure that things like that never happen again.
There is going to be a new head of housing coming in, so we would definitely like to greet him or her as soon as they arrive, and definitely form a relationship with them so that they know that we're not here to be against you. We want to work with you to make what's best for the students. But I think that it will be crucial to kind of get to them as soon as they get here and say, hey, we're SGA, we represent the students, and we want to work with you to make this better for everyone.
SGA recently added the option to abstain after a large amount of students voted no confidence last year. How did SGA respond to the number of no confidence votes, and what led them to add the abstain option?
So last year there was a huge amount of no confidence votes, which was not very good to hear, because no confidence means that you do not believe that anybody is running is fit to run the organization. It means that you have no faith in whoever is running. The difference between abstain and no confidence is that abstain means I am not educated enough on this election to make any decisions, or I don't have an opinion. There's a difference between that and saying I don't believe that these people are fit at all. So although this year it isn't, no confidence, abstain, or us. If it was a contested election, it might make a little bit more sense, but being that it was added this year and we're running unopposed, we can definitely see the confusion.
At the end of last semester, the former SGA president Nathan Hostert abruptly stepped down, and the student body was unaware of it until the Huntington News broke the story. Could you explain how SGA handled this back then and how your administration will handle it differently?
Absolutely. We personally were both very upset with the way that it was handled. We were not in support of what happened. I know that we wanted a statement to be made immediately. We understand that he had his personal problems that he needed to step down. That was his own thing. And that should be something that the whole student body should know. There should have been some sort of email sent out to everyone. It just needed to be known. It shouldn't have been something that was kept behind closed doors. And I think that going forth in the future, we would definitely push for, we want to be as transparent as possible in our platform. That's one of our main points. We don't want to keep things a secret. We don't want to keep anything within the association. We are here for everyone. We even want to start sending out I'm big in favor of weekly or bi-weekly newsletters so that students know exactly what's going on. But in the case of a bigger situation like that, the whole student body needs to be made known of the situation.
Yeah, apart from disseminating the information, that was an unprecedented situation for the Student Government Association to deal with. And I think it really brought members together to figure out how should we best proceed? What would the student body think is best? Should we do this? Should we do this? So ultimately, it really made us reconnect with constituents around the university and make sure that the student body was on board as the process was ongoing when they learned about it. And I think that we learned from that situation and that our Constitution needs to be made more clear, which we're currently working on right now. There are constitutional changes being made to basically reformat it, make sure it's legible to everyone, even if you're not a poli-sci major. And also to have very concrete steps laid out in the case of a situation like that.
You expressed that you'd like to have regular town halls to speak with the student body. Could you elaborate on this?
Yeah, so a big part of our agenda for this next year is really bringing student organizations together so that way we can more effectively communicate with them. But another thing is we want to facilitate direct conversations between students and the administration. So we would have offices come in to present to students, say what they're working on, and then we can have students talk about what they care about and how they want to proceed with changes at the university level.
I'm a big advocate of town halls. I think that it's important to have a large group of students in one room being able to directly voice their concerns. I answer my emails all the time and I get that, but I think that in order to really be able to communicate with someone, you need to talk to them in person. And I think that somebody coming out and sitting in this meeting and saying, I think that this is a problem, that will speak volumes to the people in the room and to the offices that are even sitting next to us.
Finally, how will you change SGA and how will you be different from the previous administration?
I think that us running unopposed can actually be a good thing. In previous years, there have been different parties, different sides on matters. Right now, there's one party. There's just us, and we are the side of the students. We all care about the same issues, and we've really brought all the senators together, and we hope to bring all of the student body together. So that way, we can all push for the same issues that we all care about and that we're all affected by.
I think that one thing that I have really been thinking about is the fact that we expect people to be senators in our organization, but that shouldn't be a norm. If you're not into Senate and you're not into student government, you shouldn't have to be a senator to be part of our organizations. We should be reaching out to different organizations and saying, hey, instead of you sitting in on our 2-hour weekly meetings, why don't we come and present to you on something we've been working on? We'll listen to everything you have to say, and let's see how we can work together to form a team in which we can promote whatever you're interested in. As much as we understand, as much as it's important to be part of Senate, that's not every person wants to do that, and not every club should have to have a senator to get their events heard or their voices heard or anything like that. It really should be about us reaching out and saying, what can we do for you? It shouldn't be you coming in and knocking on the door and saying, hey, do you have time for me? No, it's gotta be the other way around. We have to say we are fully here and we fully support all of your initiatives. Just better dialogue between us to the clubs, because right now I don't think we're making ourselves and our resources as available to student groups that we can be. Contact us, reach out to us. We're happy to meet and talk. We're happy to email. Phone calls are fantastic. Whatever you guys want to see, you need to let us know. And we're absolutely 100% behind you.
Yeah. Go to brownnobile.com. There's a contact button. Feel free to blow up our inboxes. Yes. We would love to hear from everyone and what they really care about.
Great. Thank you again for joining us today. I'm Corey Doxer from NUTV News, signing off.